Hello, and welcome to PA CareerLink's Resume Workshop. There are many ways to create an effective resume, and our goal here is to provide several approaches for use as a starting point. We are presenting resume workshops with options. It is important that your resume represents your work experience in your own words. Today we're going to be looking at different things involving resumes. We're going to preview resume formats. We're going to give you tools to develop a resume that best represents you. We're going to understand how your resume can be used as a marketing tool, discuss the importance of making your resume ready for the applicant tracking system or the ATS, and we're going to review the benefits of PA CareerLink Resume. Now, when thinking about your resume, you have to really take note that your resume is your marketing tool, and it should highlight your skills, your achievements, and you would do this by quantifying by using numbers. So for example, your daily percentage of sales you made for the day, how many machines you operated each week. You would also want to include your professional highlights, your experience, and your education. Now, a lot of times people focus primarily on their experience and the education and don't really focus too much on your skills, achievements, or professional highlights. But it's really important that you truly see how beneficial it is to really highlight those skills, those achievements, those professional highlights, because you want to really make sure that you are standing out. In general, your resume should be 1 to 2 pages in length. It should include relevant years of work experience. You should also list your most recent 3 to 5 positions or the last 10 to 15 years. You should also expand on tasks by stating and quantifying accomplishments. It should also be professional and error-free, where you would use consistent wording, use consistent formatting throughout. So for example, the recommended font size for the entire resume would be 10 to 12 point font. Your name at the top should be a maximum of 18 point font, for example. And we do recommend certain font styles, which would be Arial, Calibri, and Cambria. Now your header is what we see at the top of the resume, and this includes your contact information. So you would have your full name, your address, your email address, your phone number, and if appropriate and if it's ready, your LinkedIn URL. Now when we look at your full name, it's important to make sure that it is prominent. So you can have it bolded, you can have it up to an 18 point font. In your address, you can put your full address, or you can also just put your city and state where you're located. For the email address, it should be professional, and we do suggest that it's used only for job seeking. And your phone number, please make sure to only put one. We don't want to give employers different options. One main phone number that you have is the best option. With your LinkedIn URL, if it is ready and you feel that it's a good option to really put out to the public, then go ahead and put your LinkedIn URL on the resume as well. Now, when we're thinking about header examples, it's important to note that there are different ways you can write your header. This is purely aesthetics. It's really about what you feel comfortable and what you really like. So you can have the first option where your name is centered and then your contact information is to the side. You can have it as a second option where everything is centered, or you can have it as a third option where everything is to the side. This is really dependent on you and what your personal aesthetic is. The next section that we're going to be talking about is the profile. This is right below the header. Now the profile has different names, but it means the exact same thing. So you can call it profile, summary, professional highlights, or even summary of qualifications. All of them are right, and it all just depends on which word you prefer to use. Your profile should include the most important information, such as key strengths and skills, accomplishments, years of experience, relevant education or training, what you can bring to the position or company, and keywords from the job description. Now, this profile or this summary is really highlighting who you are and what you bring to the table. There is a difference between a profile and an objective. An objective, as many may be used to using, really talks about what you're seeking. So for example, individual seeking a position in a company that, for example, but a profile really highlights what you have to offer. It says all of these great things about you in one small section. And that's when you really want to make sure that you're using all of these positive words to really describe yourself. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the different types of summary formats. You can choose to have it in many different ways. So for example, here, this person has chosen to write their summary in a bulleted point format. This is acceptable. You can have it many different ways, and we're going to go ahead and look at that in the following slides. But for example, this person, if we're just looking at it really quickly, we can automatically assume that they are a welder. And we know that they have 10 years of experience, and we know what they're skilled in. They have extensive knowledge in TIG, MIG, and arc welding. This is a very clear summary. It's important when you're writing your summary that you have a lot of clarity, you have a lot of focus. You want someone to look at your summary and say, ah, yes, okay, this is exactly what they're doing. And it makes sense to them and to others who maybe don't even know anything about your field, but they know exactly what you're looking for and what you have to offer. Now here we have another example of a summary, and this person has chosen to do a kind of mini paragraph form along with a bulleted point format of their key strengths. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this summary. Motivated sales associate with over 5 years sales experience, independent worker with high energy and great communication skills, reliable and friendly professional, able to work with little oversight and collaborate in a team environment. And then you have some key strengths there: motivated seller, able to stand for long periods of time, order processing, etc. Now, if you are just beginning to write a summary and you kind of don't know where to start, a little trick that you can kind of do is to basically think of what the ideal candidate would be. So if you were the hiring manager for this position, what kind of characteristics or skills would you be looking for? So for example, if you're a hiring manager, you would want your sales associate to be an independent worker, but also know how to collaborate and work in a team environment. You can also look at it from another perspective. If you were thinking of the ideal candidate for this position, in this case, sales associate, what kind of interaction would you want to have with this person? Let's say you're the customer. Would you want them to be rude and dismissive? Probably not. So if you go into store, you would really want that person to be a friendly professional. You would want them to have great communication skills as well. So you can kind of think of it in that sense as well, in this and that other perspective. As we talked about, it's also important to always have the job description with you while you are writing your summary. Now, in general, you want to make sure to really always tailor your resume to each job posting that you are applying to. You don't want it to be the same resume for each job, because the job descriptions are going to be a bit different. So you want to go ahead and make sure that you're tailoring your resume, to that job description. So for example, we have here some keywords that probably came from a job description. If we look at able to stand for long periods, this is probably a keyword in that job description. You always want to pull keywords from the job description and sprinkle it onto your resume. Order processing, probably another keyword that was located in the job description. So these are things that you really want to make sure you're looking over as you're writing your summary and say, okay, how closely does it match to this job description? Here is another example of a profile or a summary statement. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what this person can possibly do. And I'm going to go ahead and read it. And as I'm reading it, think about what this person's position may be. Loyal and dedicated individual with 15 plus years successful work experience in the banking industry, providing quality administrative support to senior level executives, experience in coordinating meetings, special events, presentation preparation, and staff training, excellent customer service skills, and a team player. So we're looking at this format, this type of summary here. Now we can see that they have chosen with just the paragraph type format. Okay, but now let's go ahead and think about what can this person's, what are they looking for? What are the field, what's the field that they have experience in? Now, if we think about, okay, we know they're in the banking industry, so we've already seen that. We can see right there, successful work experience in the banking industry. But what exact position would you assume that they have experience in? So would it be a teller? We would really hope that a teller would not have all of this responsibility. So we can assume that this is someone who is in a probably mid to upper level position where they're providing support to higher level executives because they are coordinating meetings and special events. They're doing a lot of different things that a teller would not and should not be responsible for. So when we look at this profile or this summary, we can see that it is incredibly focused. We know that they're working in the banking industry. We know how many years of experience they have. We know the types of duties that they have been responsible for in the past and what skills they have to offer to this new company. So again, when you're thinking about writing your summary, think about the clarity, think about the focus. Make sure you're highlighting yourself, you're being positive about yourself. What do you have to offer? What skills do you bring to the table? And write it down in your summary. Now, what I'd like for you to do now is to go ahead and try writing your own summary. If you don't already have one, go ahead and see what you can come up with and make sure to look back at the previous slides or in the video to really see what is the most important information that you should have on there. If you would like, you can also send your summary activity to the email address that is listed on the last page, and we can go ahead and review it because we really want to encourage your participation in this whole resume writing journey. Now let's go ahead and take a look at education and other categories. It's important to, as we talked about, really highlight your skills, really highlight what you bring to the table. And one of those things are your education. The first thing to notice is that dates are optional. This all depends on your own personal story. When you're thinking about how long ago you graduated, again, this has to do with your own personal story, but let's say, for example, you graduated in 1975. This is not something that we suggest that you put. You can go ahead and just remove that date, and the school is fine. It is perfectly fine. If you're a recent graduate, then you might want to go ahead and put that. If you are a student and you're currently enrolled, then go ahead and put currently enrolled after your school name, and or you can also put expected graduation date. You can also add related coursework if you're currently enrolled or if you were in school for a bit. Something that relates to that position, you can also put that as well. And you want to also include your certifications and licenses. It's really important to make sure you're highlighting what you bring to the table. Now, when we look at memberships and our affiliations, we're not talking about here about religious affiliations or memberships. We're talking about professional memberships or affiliations. If for you, and again, your resume is your own personal story, if for you it is really important for you to put your religious affiliation, we do suggest that you first look at the company and look at their mission statement and see if that is something that they value and they want their ideal candidate to have. But other than that, we do suggest that you don't put any religious affiliations. Professional affiliations are what we're considering and talking about. Community service or volunteer experiences. Any type of experience or community service experience that you have had, please put that down. That shows that you get out there and that you've been a part of society and helping them and have done different things for that. It also helps to close gaps. So that's another strategy that you can use if you do or you are considering volunteer experiences. It helps with unemployment gaps. Awards and recognition. So this is something where you can say, well, I haven't received any awards, or I got one time that award for being on time. Well, go ahead and put that. That's something that's really important. Maybe you were Employee of the Month. Definitely put that as well. Any type of award or recognition that you have received in the past, please put that on your resume as well, because it's really helping to tell your story. Now we're going to go ahead and look at the different resume formats that are available to you and ones that you will be able to consider that might be a great fit for you. So we have three different types of resume formats. We have the chronological resume, the functional resume, which is a skills-based resume, and the combination resume. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at each one of them carefully. The chronological resume, it's useful when you are experienced in an industry, you are remaining in an industry, you've always held similar jobs, or you've been promoted or showed job progression. You want to include your list of work experiences in reverse chronological order, your bullet points of experiences, accomplishments, and results. You want to include the following, for example, in this specific order: your position, your title, your name of the company or the employer, the location, and then the dates worked. And you want to also start with those bullet points with strong action verbs. So we're going to go ahead and look a little bit more closely as to what the strong action verbs are. So if we look at this resume, okay, and you're going to receive an example of resume templates at the end of this workshop, but I just want to go ahead and show you this. But if you look at this resume here, we can see what the format is. So we have the header here at the top, then we have the summary, and then in keeping with the chronological resume format, we have the experience, okay, here. Now, with this, you can see that it starts with the position, the company, the location, and then the person's the time that they were there at that company. When you are creating your chronological resume, you want to make sure, as we talked about, to have your strong action verbs. So oversaw, stocked, maintained, accurately and efficiently inventoried, okay? You want to make sure that you have those strong action verbs and that they're all different. You don't want to put maintained, 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 organize, 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 okay? So with this, now let's go ahead and look at the next section, the education section. As you can see here, we don't have a date. It is not important to put a date for this because of whatever reason, this person just chose to not put their graduation date. But they did put, as you can see here, what was their degree in? Associate of Applied Science in Business. Where did they graduate from? Mesa Community College, Mesa, Arizona. Okay, so if you're looking at this type of resume structure and you're saying, this would probably be a good format for me, then consider the chronological resume. Now let's go ahead and look at the functional or skills-based resume. The functional resume highlights your skill areas rather than your work history. So as we saw before with the chronological resume, it was really focusing on your work history and what you've done, the tasks. But the functional resume really is going to focus on your skills and what you have to offer. Now, these are for very specific types of people, so it would be useful when you're addressing gaps in work history or returning to work. Okay, so for example, maybe you are a single father, maybe you were you had to be out of work for different medical reasons, whatever the case may be. This can be a very beneficial resume for you. You would also use this when you've making or you have made a career change or you are considering making a career change, when you have limited work history, if you're a seasonal worker, or if you have no experience at all, no work experience at all. And this is where you want to focus on your skills and your transferable skills. Your transferable skills are those skills that you have learned at other positions that maybe not related, maybe it isn't related to this current position you're looking at, but you know it will work great in. So maybe there's something you learned in a job 3, 4, 5 years ago, okay, or 3, 4, 5 jobs ago, that would be a great skill to apply to this new position. And that's something that you want to add to your resume. On your functional resume, because it's not really clear as to what you are looking for, right? Because you're just highlighting your skills and it doesn't say your job history, okay? You want to include a professional tagline. So for example, Rayford Collingsworth, customer service professional. Amelia Williams, experienced auto mechanic. On your functional resume, you want to list your 3 to 4 top transferable skills areas as related to the desired position. You want to include bullet points to demonstrate the skills listed. And your work history would be at the bottom with no bullet points. And we're going to go ahead and look at an example of what this functional resume looks like. So if you see here with your functional resume, okay, again, we have the header. So that's the same as before. We have the summary, that's the same as before. But this section right here, the skills section, is very different from that chronological because it's really highlighting what skills you have to offer to this company or to this employer. So for example, the interpersonal skills, medical skills, documentation skills. All right, this person greeted and assisted customers, treated all customers and coworkers with respect. It's their interpersonal skills. Their medical skills, knowledge of medical terminology in English and Nepali. All right, documentation skills, kept detailed records of grandfather's medical history and scheduled weekly appointments. So with this story, we can see, okay, well, for a while they were working, but they were also taking care of a family member. And when you have those life experience, in this case, this person was taking care of their grandfather, we can see that they have learned a lot of things. And that is the transferable skills that this person will want to put on their functional resume. It's something you have learned, whether formally or informally, and you want to make sure that you put that on there because it's really going to highlight who you are, what you have to offer, and you're going to be able to use that in this functional resume. If we look here, okay, in the work history, I'm just going to go ahead, we can see that they don't have any bullet points. It's not necessary to put any bullet points. We just have the position, the company, and the date. All right, you don't have to put anything else for that in the work history section in the functional resume. And at the bottom here, we can see then that they have their education, okay? And they've put some certifications. They have their CPR certification. They have their GED that they acquired here in the United States and their high school diploma that they acquired in their home country. So this type of resume is a really flexible type of resume that it can apply to many different people. But we do encourage, even if you have a chronological resume, also consider having this functional resume because what it really does is just really focuses and hones in on your skills. Now let's go ahead and look at the combination resume. Now before I begin, I do want to mention if you feel like you need to review the chronological format, the functional format, please make sure just to stop and rewind this video and go ahead and rewatch it so you can have a better understanding. And again, as you're doing that, if you have any questions, please make sure to write them down. And at the end of the presentation, there's going to be an email address that you can go ahead and take advantage of and email us and let us know what your questions are, what your concerns are. That's what you would also send us your summary activity if you would like as well. So let's go ahead and look at what the combination resume is. The combination resume incorporates the best of the chronological and the best of the functional resume formats. So you're going to really see how it has the best of both worlds. This is useful when you want to highlight skill areas and work history, when you're making a career change, when you have limited work history, or if you're a seasonal worker. Let's go ahead and look at what this combination format looks like. Okay, so we have the header, still the same. We have the summary. Okay, this person has put their summary in this format with their paragraph format, and then at the bottom here with the key strengths format in bullet points. Then they have their skills here, okay, and they have it. They have two different ones here. So for example, this person has marketing skills, and they have their management skills as well. Okay, the marketing skills, generating new business growth by 20% through client acquisition. Now this 20% here, notice how they're using that number. As we talked about, when you're talking about your accomplishments, quantify it. Their management skills, managing vendor relations, budgets, production timelines, and projects from inception to completion. Okay, now here you have those two different skills that this person has, and here this is focusing on the skills. And it's not just focusing on the skills in this combination resume, but it's also focusing on the work history, okay? But again, it's just a different format. So if we look here at this work history, we have professional experience. We have the job title, the company, which is Prime Interactive, location, which is Raleigh, North Carolina, and then the dates that they worked there, which is March 2013 to July 2019. And what else do they have there that's really important to notice and take? Okay, they have their job descriptions, their points with the past tense verb, led, reviewed, planned, managed. They have all of this information here. Now, if you remember, when you're looking back, and you can go ahead and pause and look back at the functional resume does not have these descriptions here, okay? It does not have this. But the combination resume does have that description because it is important for this combination. So again, it's getting the best of both worlds. It's getting the best of the chronological and the best of the functional, and it's combining it here in this type of resume. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what are applicant tracking systems, or ATSs as a lot of people call them. ATSs are a type of software that a lot of companies use to really just kind of keep track of everyone that has applied to a position. So it could be a big company, it could be a small company, but they are receiving thousands or hundreds of applications and resumes. And this is just a way for them to be able to organize themselves and see what step in the process this person is in. Okay. It's also used to scan your resume. So employers use the ATS to pick up keywords that are relevant to the position or the job title. And this is why I had mentioned that you want to make sure that your resume is tailored to that job description. You want to make sure that you are getting keywords from that job description and putting it onto that resume. All right, so you want to study job descriptions to identify relevant keywords and sprinkle it on there. You want to use basic formatting. So on your resume, and you're going to see the examples that we gave before and the examples that we will give later on, you want to make sure that you are avoiding those tables, those graphs, those charts, those lines on your resume, because that will come up as an error in the applicant tracking systems. Another error that may come up, or another way it may show you as not compatible with this job, is if you add headers or footers. You want to stay away from that. It's going to see it as an error. Now, resumes are sorted based on keyword match. So your goal is to have at least 75 to 80% match. A great website that you can use that is free to you is called www.jobscan.co, not com, .co. And you can go ahead, and what you're going to do is put your resume, copy and paste your resume onto one side, copy and paste your resume, the job description, excuse me, to the other side, and you'll see what your compatibility percentage match is. And that's a really great resource for you to use. So I'd really highly encourage that after you watch this video, you go ahead and take a look at that. Now let's go ahead and look at this example. This is a really great example that we got from a website, and the source is at the bottom if you wanted to go ahead and look at that a little bit more closely. But here to the left, we have a resume that is really nice. It's really cool. It's, very graphic, but it's not going to be compatible with the applicant tracking system. So if we see here, we have this box here. We have this box here. We have these little icons here. We have this box here as well. Okay, automatically, just these boxes here are going to create an error for that applicant tracking system. So if you see here, how at the right hand side, how it has combined it, you can see that there is some type of misinformation. So you'll notice that the columns have been smashed together, okay? But what happens is then the position now shows up as Education Sales Cloud Apollo.io. Then the ATS has combined the start date of her current job with her graduation date. And what it's showing is, okay, she has only worked in that position for 1 month. Okay, that's something that you really want to make sure that you're staying away from when you're looking at the different types of resumes that you have. Now, we don't want to discourage you from being creative, but we want to encourage you to look into these little things that we're talking about, because we really want to make sure that you're being successful and that you're being as compatible as possible with an applicant tracking system. The next section that we want to go ahead and talk about are your references, okay? Now, before you use a reference, it's important that you ask the person if they are willing to serve as references before you give their names to a potential employer, okay? Don't just put their name down and then just hope for the best. There's been many times where I've been in a position where I've answered a call and I don't remember which, for example, John it was that I worked with, and I'm having to report on this person's work ethic and I can't remember who it was. So you want to make sure that you're asking them for permission before you just put their information down. On your references, this will be a separate document, okay? It's not going to be on your resume. It's going to be a completely separate document, just as it would be a completely separate document for your cover letter. So you would include the person's job title, the company, their address if they're okay with it, the phone number, and the email. Okay. In total, you want to go ahead and make sure you're asking at least 3 to 5 people who can speak highly of your accomplishments, your work ethic, your skills, your education, and your performance. Okay, 3 to 5 people is a safe number, because if 2 people drop out, at least you have those other 3 that will be able to vouch for you. When you are saving your document, so you've written your summary, your resume, excuse me, you've gotten everything down, you've written your summary over and over again to really make sure it's tailored to that job description, okay? What you want to do is make sure that you're saving it in an accessible place. So you want to make sure that you can access the documents at any time via the internet, able to save updated resumes and meet your job search needs timely. So some strategies you can use: your email, your USB drive, your job searching websites, for example, like PA CareerLink, and we're going to be talking about that, how you can save your resume on there, and your social media like LinkedIn. But it's important for you to remember and note, if you save and you update your resume in your email, okay, make sure you save it in first 2 other different places. So you want to make sure you save it in 3 places. But if you save it and update it in one place, make sure you save and update it in the other places as well. So if you have saved your and updated your resume in your email, make sure you have updated it on your flash drive and your My PA CareerLink account, for example. And that way you can make sure you can access it at any time. You lose a password to one, no worries, you have the other ones that you can go ahead and reference. Now, a great tool that you can go ahead as you're creating your resume is to use onetonline.org. This is a great tool that you can use if you're kind of starting out with writing resumes and you're not really sure what it is how to start. So for example, how do I even write my job description details? I don't remember what I did in that job. I felt like it was so long ago. Well, what you can do is on the right hand side, if you see where it says occupation quick search right here, okay, on that you would type in your job, okay, and you would look for example, administrative assistant, a director, an industrial mechanic. You would go ahead and type it here, okay, and then you'll press this the arrow button, okay, and you're gonna go ahead and see all of the different options that will come up of the task of the job, and then you'll click on one of those and be able to see all of the different options that they have for the tasks, the skills. You can also use this not just to reference what you've done in the past or how to word, or as an example of how to word your tasks that you've done in the past, but if you are doing career research and career exploration, you can also use this website for that as well. It's important to take note that I am not advising you to copy and paste what the tasks are on there. It's important for you to write it in your own words because your position may have been very unique, okay? And you want to make sure that you're really acquiring those skills for resume writing. And again, if you are unsure or if you would just like someone to review it, at the end of this workshop, you're going to see an email that you can go ahead and send your resume to. Now, I had mentioned here the PA CareerLink website in a previous slide to kind of talk about how you can save. This is a great other website where you can use to save your resume and upload it to this platform to make sure that you always have that updated resume on hand. Now, if you would like to access PA CareerLink in Spanish, we do have this feature here that you can go ahead and create your own, you create an account and follow the instructions in Spanish as well. So we just wanted to point that out as well. But your My PA CareerLink resume is very different from the resume that we've talked about today. It's a different format, okay, completely, but it has its own benefits. Now, in general, when you have a PA CareerLink page and you have a PA CareerLink resume, this is the resume that is viewed by employers when they are searching for employees, okay? When they search for you, the PA CareerLink resume, which is a separate one from what we're talking about today, is the one that they're going to be looking at. It is also viewed, the PA CareerLink resume, it's also viewed by staff here at CareerLink when they are matching job positions to the applicant, so to you, for example. Okay, you do have the option, as I talked about, to upload the resume that you're working on today, and that really should be your main one when you are applying to different jobs. So let's go ahead and just kind of look at what are the 8 mistakes of resume writing. So if resume writing mistake number 1, poor formatting. Okay, you want to make sure that you have someone look over that and that all the lines are appropriate, all the bullet points are correct. So that's something that you want to have reviewed. Inappropriate length. So for example, exceeding those 1 to 2 pages of your resume. Spelling and grammatical errors and incorrect verb tense. That's something that, again, you want to make sure you have someone really review your resume and find those small errors. Sometimes you are so attached to your resume and you've worked on it for so long that you may not find an error, and just having a fresh pair of eyes really does help with that. A lack of focus. This is something that we talked about when we're writing our summary, for example. You want to make sure that it's clear, that it's organized, that it has that focus as to what you're looking for, what you have to offer, and who you are professionally. Including non-relevant data. This is important. You want to make sure that all of the information on your resume is relevant. Number 6, casual language. So instead of saying faxed things, right? You want to make sure that you recorded and sent important documents. You want to word it in a different way and avoid this casual language. And again, all of this, please send it to Resume Critique, and we're going to be talking about that website later on. Redundancy of information. Sometimes people exceed that 1 to 2 pages in length because they have very repetitive information, and that's something that you want to go ahead and look at. And including your references on the resume, this is not something that is necessary anymore, and you would now have this as a separate document. So let's go ahead and have a recap. So a resume is a tool that represents you. It's important for you to understand that you want to just put the best things about you on that paper. What have you accomplished? And put that on that paper. The purpose of the resume is to gain an interview, of course. A resume must be professional and error-free and customized for each job opening and reviewed before submitting. Have someone look at your resume. And you can also make sure that if you have no other resources, upload your new resume to PACareerLink.gov. This is a great resource for you to have it, not just for job exploration and job search, but also just to always make sure that it is with you when you need it. If you would like for us to review your resume, we do have a workshop. Essentially, it's a virtual workshop called Virtual Resume Critique, and you can send your resume to the email address that's listed there. So it's resumecritique@jobsforlancaster.com. And when you do, you will receive a response from a CareerLink staff member within 1 to. All right, and that's the conclusion for our resume workshop today. We want to thank you for your participation, and your feedback is very important to us. Please click the link in the video description to complete a brief 2-minute survey. We do look forward to receiving your email. Please email the instructor below so that we can provide the handouts for this workshop. You're going to be receiving resume templates, cover letter examples, lots of different great things to help you with your job search. And we'd also like to answer any questions you may have about resume writing as well. Please remember to write in the subject line resume workshop. And the email below is jhernandez@jobs4lancaster.com. Thank you all and have a great day.